My parents had a house, and I was very happy that they did. And out in the back, my uncle had cut down an old elm tree that had died and left a stump which at the time was probably 6 feet high because it was too big around at the base for his chainsaw to get through. So that stump was sitting out there. And it was maybe 3.5, 4 foot thick at the base. Elm's pretty solid wood. It doesn't rot very easily. So nobody complained if I drove nails into it. Downtown there was a company called Montgomery Ward's, retail company. And they had a dumpster out behind the building. And in that dumpster, they would put packing crates. Plastic bag will work for now. I usually put them in a milk jug, but I don't happen to have a milk jug sitting right here. So I will save time and stack them in that plastic bag. Then I'll dump the plastic bag into a milk jug at a later time. I'm probably not going to turn these into a tree house. Don't have a need for a tree house. Don't climb trees very much anymore. And the trees that I have here in the yard, I don't want nailed. Don't want to have them stuck full of nails. But I figured out that they make pretty good birdhouses. The wide, thin ones. Two by fours, kind of a universal unit. They make all kinds of things. Sawhorses being one of them. I wonder if I can just pull these nails on through. Doesn't look like it. You may have heard of a guy named Izzy Swan. Izzy's a creative thinker. And quite an artist too. He designs all kinds of things. Innovator. stumbled on his YouTube channel, oh, I don't know, might be 10, might only be 5 years ago. And he was in the business of recycling pallets. He used the pallet wood to make furniture. Nice furniture. Kind of eclectic, but creative, well made. Looked finished when he was done. And he managed to sell quite a bit of it, I think. The thing that impressed me the most was the way he went about recycling pallets. Because he recognized that the pallet only had a value to him if he was able to use it for something. So he came up with creative ways to get the nails out. Get the boards off the pallet and get the nails out of the boards. He and his family would go out in their garage and knock apart pallets. And I thought, this man has an understanding of the world. Goes back to the time is money. Trade one for the other, everything you do. I talked about these thin boards having a value to me, and that's because I can make birdhouses out of them. Not that I need birdhouses. They have a value to me because Lydia likes birdhouses. And I do too. I gotta admit that a nicely made birdhouse is a nice thing to have around. Birds are pleasant to have around my house because they sing songs and make me happy. So I guess I'm trading my time for something that makes me happy. And that's not a bad trade. read a book. Always reading books. Like books. Learn things. Somebody spent the time thinking of what to put on a piece of paper. They usually do it for something they think is important. And if they think it's important, it's probably got a value to me. Might not be immediate. Might not be something that I use. Could just be something I put together with something else and say, oh, that'll help. Well, one of the things I was reading was a history book talking about colonial times. Yeah, I know, colonial times have kind of a bad rap right now because, oh my goodness, they did terrible things. Yeah, I'm sure everybody everywhere at one time or another does terrible things. People tend to do what they need to do to make themselves happy, healthy, or just safe. Safe's a big pull. Keeping yourself and your family safe has been a never-ending struggle. For as long as man has had a family to deal with. So getting back to the history of colonial times. Resources. Now they were in a land of abundant wood. Trees were growing everywhere. Matter of fact, they had to cut down a tree to put anything in. Trees tend to grow in forests. They like to be as dense as possible because whenever a seed lands on the ground, it tries to grow where it's at because it can't get up and walk. So trees tend to grow up close to each other. As forests get older, the trees get further and further separated because the big ones shade out the little ones and so on and so on. But the colonists and their indigenous people in the area when they moved in shared a common thing. They wanted houses. Well, the Europeans, the colonists were from Europe, mostly, had built houses to withstand weather and also wars. So you get more than two people together, two of them ganging up on the third one to take what he's got. So they wanted to build a sturdy house. And they wanted a house that would hold up to not only winter, but the abuses of man. Well, in Europe, they had iron. They figured out how to smelt iron and make tools. And one of the things that they made was nails. Nails are great for working with wood. You can drive a nail in and hold that piece of wood onto another piece of wood. It'll hold up for quite a bit. You saw me trying to take the pallet apart. You see me still trying to pull the nails out. So nails have a value. But they also take a lot of work. Just getting a piece of iron that looks like a piece of iron that you could make a nail out of. In other words, somewhat long and skinny, So you could put a point on one end, head on the other, turn it into something that would hold the board together. That was a bit of work. It took specialized equipment. To smelt the iron out, you had to have a furnace. Called it a bloomery. They'd take the chunks of rusty dirt, iron, and put it in the bloomery. And with a combination of charcoal, or if you were real lucky, coal. Coal was one of those things that you found on the surface a lot less than you find today. Because today you dig it up out of the ground. The Kilchers up in Alaska, I watched that show, love that show, have coal that sticks out of the bank of the cliffs over the ocean and falls on the beach. So they have coal pretty much sitting there. Get back to the colonists. Colonists didn't have that, except in rare occasions. So they would burn wood to make charcoal, and the charcoal, the carbon in the charcoal would combine with the oxygen in the ore and drive the oxygen out of the ore, leaving. Get back to the colonists and the nails. Well, they take the stuff out of the bloomery and use a hammer and put it on an anvil or a rock. They didn't have an anvil. And they'd smash it out and drive out the moss and chunks of dirt and everything else, and it would become wrought iron. And it took a lot of pounding. You had to heat it and pound it and heat it and pound it a bunch of times. So it was a big bunch of work trying to get a rod of iron so that you could make a nail. So the colonists decided that they weren't going to leave those nails when they moved. They moved quite often. So they'd empty out the house, take everything that they wanted, and then they'd burn the house and rake through the ashes, pull the nails out of the ash pile, and when they went to their next house, they'd use those nails again. Nice thing about iron, you can heat it and heat it and heat it and heat it. As long as you don't get it up really, really hot so it oxidizes the scales, you can keep eating it and using it. Well, I'm not going to reuse these nails. These nails are going to go into a milk jug and then off to the scrapyard. Now I ended up with a pile of boards and a bag of nails and room in the workshop. Oh, garage. This is really the garage. It's supposed to be used as a workshop and then made back into the garage that night, but I let things pile up. Way too many things. But at least I got the pallet taken apart, and I got the nails out of the pallet, and I'm going to take it back and put it back in the tractor shed and let it be there out of the weather. And I will get to projects with it, maybe later, maybe not.
This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union without the express written permission of the parents or the legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.